Through personal stories, mindfulness practices, science, psychology, and wisdom traditions, these conversations are an invitation to slow down, listen deeply, and remember that we are never separate. We invite you to grow with us on this journey together through rekindling our connection with nature. Welcome to the Bonded Podcast. What if your therapy session involved a wetsuit, a surfboard, and the Pacific Ocean? Today, I'm sitting down with Jess Ripley, licensed marriage and family therapist, recreational therapy specialist, and surf therapist based in Southern California. Jess's approach is shaped by her own journey through trauma, addiction, and recovery, and she has built a practice that is anything but conventional, from EMDR in the office to riding waves as a path to resilience. This conversation is a beautiful reminder that healing doesn't have to happen between four walls. Welcome, Jess, to the Bonded Podcast. I'm personally really excited to have you on as a fellow surfer. You being a surf therapist as part of your role, and even you were just sharing before that you just came from a surf therapy session. So I love that you're bringing that energy into the episode today. But I would like to start off with you really sharing what inspired you to get into surf therapy, and how nature, this whole season is really about how we can connect with nature on the path to healing and wholeness, and curious about your professional and personal kind of relationship with nature.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation too. That's a cool place to start. I was thinking about that with your guys' the Sacred Treehouse name. I was remembering when was my first, when did I first know nature was healing? And it was when I was a kid. I would go out in this big tree we had and climb the tree. And when I think about my childhood, all the bad things happened indoors, and outdoors was my safe space. And I kind of lost that in young adulthood. And then I'm in recovery. I got sober and I was giving back, and my first inspiration was my younger brother. He's autistic, and he's only 2 years younger than me. He was going through young adulthood too and having a hard time. And I started taking him on these different outings. We'd go to the park, feed the ducks, and then one day, it was a really rough day, we went to a park, or we went on a hike up in the mountains. And he came to this stream and he splashed the water on his face and he's, "Jesse, I'm a new man." And I was, at that time, I was just going back to school. I had gotten a few credits here and there in college. And then I was looking for a new major. Originally, I had been at dental hygiene. And I was I won't stay sober if I become a dental hygienist. No. So I was I need a profession. I don't know what it is, but I need a career that has purpose, that's worth that, and that I will enjoy engaging in. So that hike sparked in my mind I wonder if this should be a job. Is there anyone doing this? And I found that recreational therapy is a thing, and so I got into a program for that. And then while I was there, while I was in school, I got an assignment to create a mock program, and I had enjoyed surfing briefly when I was a teenager. I didn't live near the ocean. I lived a couple hours away from the ocean. But I had talked my parents into getting me a surf lesson a couple of times. And then when I did go back to school later in life, I finally got to move out closer to the ocean. So I had just started getting back to surfing, experiencing how it helped me as a person in recovery have healthy recreation without substances. And so I was like, I'll make up a program that has like surfing and rec therapy. And I was doing research for that online, and there I found one of the early surf therapy organizations that was doing sessions in Oceanside at Camp Pendleton. And I started volunteering there, and that was the beginning of my surf therapy career. I went on to study psychology later and kind of combined everything, made my own version of surf therapy.
Very cool. Yeah, because I know there's different, which we can get into, like different titles that people might use surf therapists, but they might not be actually licensed therapists. So that's something that you bring to the field and kind of have created your own version of what surf therapy is.
Yeah, that makes it hard to answer the question when somebody says, "Well, what's surf therapy?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's kind of almost something you would ask each provider." There's a lot of different professions that are providing surf therapy. It could be a physical therapist. For me, I'm a recreational therapist and a psychotherapist. And yeah, as you mentioned, there's some organizations that don't actually employ a therapist, but they know that the ocean is healing, so they might be called surf therapy. Yeah, I think eventually you have a question about my training. I created a training to address that and help people kind of stay within their scope of competence. And so there might be some things that are ocean healing or therapeutic surf lessons. And it's helpful to kind of just make sure you know what the qualifications are of someone, because other things are actually a therapy session.
Yeah, I think here in Florida, that's where I'm licensed, that you can't call something therapy unless that you're doing therapy unless you're a therapist, right? Which means really a licensed therapist, or like you said, if it's maybe a physical, they're going into the ocean and doing physical therapy. Tell us a little bit more how then you use it. I'm curious about what this looks like, how you approach it. Do people come directly saying, I want surf therapy, or do they come for therapy and then you use this as an additional kind of modality you introduce?
Yeah, most of my surf therapy clients come to me specifically for surf therapy. There has been a couple instances where I'm working with someone in the office and recommend that they at least do a couple sessions surf therapy with me. But what it looks like now for me, I used to do groups, which is a little different, but now I do one-on-one. And what it looks like is I meet the client at the beach, we get suited up together, we go and we sit on the sand. And then the content of that time in the sand varies by the person. For some people, it's actually a therapy session, with just, maybe some tighter boundaries within the topics that we might go into because we're out in a public space. But for some people, it's a full therapy session. For other people, it's more like mindfulness, meditation, connecting with the body, getting grounded and present. And then usually always we'll try to identify a theme, like an intention or a theme of something going on in their life. Or maybe it's the goals that we set ahead of time in the treatment plan. That is the theme for then the like in water portion of the session. So then we go out into the water together. It varies based on their level of experience with surfing. Most, probably, yeah, more than half of the people that come to me for surf therapy have never surfed before, so I'm teaching them. This is something that is one of the differences between a surf lesson and surf therapy. Safety is a higher priority than achieving surf performance. So I just met someone the other day she was talking about a surf lesson. She was like, yeah, I had one lesson, but I had such a hard time paddling out. I like could barely make it out. And I was like, your first lesson? Like when I give someone a first lesson, I don't even have a board with me because I'm holding their board for them. And we don't paddle all the way out. We start on the inside where everyone can stand. And I control the back of the board to keep it stable, keep it balanced. So anywhere from that, the very beginnings, where we're just learning to surf, or if they have, if they've got ocean anxiety to address first, then we might just be going in without a surfboard or with boogie boards, all the way up to if they have been working with me for a while, or if they came to me with surf skill already, then we're paddling out into this, what's called the lineup. It's like where all the surfers are lined up on the outside, and catching waves there. And I'm more offering them a little bit of coaching on versus like actually facilitating their actual wave. I'm more observing and coaching. And I'm constantly weaving in different versions of mindfulness, either mindfulness of their internal physical state, their internal dialogue, or sometimes directing their attention to elements of nature, like the lights, the bubbles, the animals. And then also I have in my mind the theme that we're working on. And usually it's not too hard to, usually it's, whatever it is will just come up naturally. But if not, then I'll give them like if we're doing playfulness, then I might tell them on your next wave, like make a non-word noise while you're on it. So I'm finding ways to weave in the theme. And then I close the session intentionally, usually trying to find some sort of a takeaway or ask them to acknowledge something they're proud of themselves for. And then we always take a moment of gratitude for the ocean, gratitude for your body. And some of my clients, it's really cool when clients get to the level where then I can leave and they can keep surfing if they want to. So for some of my clients, that's that, or for others, we go back in together.
Nice. Beautiful. And there's so many things that can come up, like that might be outside of that original intention, I imagine, of like just the challenge of surfing and like the metaphors that you can weave in too with the ocean and navigating other people. So curious what would be the benefits of someone doing surf therapy rather than kind of in an office, or like what are the different things that you see clients can really get to experience or get in the therapeutic process from surf therapy or being outside in nature as part of therapy versus an office setting?
I feel like I could give a lot of answers to this question, but well, the easiest, funnest one is like play and joyfulness, silliness. That's not usually just not coming up in the therapy office. And even if I wanted to, it would be a lot harder for me to get someone to pretend to be a dolphin in my therapy office versus, while we're splashing around in the waves. So that's one benefit. Some people just feel more comfortable. It feels awkward to them, the idea of sitting in a room and having, four walls around them and a person just like staring at them talking. So that's nice. Even the time that we're on the sand, I am usually always kind of we're not facing each other, we're facing the ocean, and I'm at sort of an angle like looking at them, and then I don't know why I've started doing this, but I'm always like making some little thing in the sand, and it's like an invitation to that if they want to. There's always like sticks and shells, and I like make a little mandala while I'm like listening to them. And so that's a benefit of that you might not get. And then you're facing challenges in the moment. You're not talking about using like stopping to take a breath later when you face a stressful situation after the session. You're having someone remind you, what's your breath like right now? And oh yeah, I thought you were holding your breath. Like, what would it feel like to take a breath? Yeah, there's so many. I could probably think of 10 more if I was sitting down writing them out. Things that it's just so different. The ocean is always it's even different than like if you were to do like basketball or even like rock climbing, because the ocean is moving. Like there are things happening that I cannot control. There's wipeouts. There's like all these experiences that there's a phrase, how you do anything is how you do everything. So there'll be these things revealed. Like I remember a client, I actually had only worked with him in the office, but he was a surfer. I was like, we got to surf together one time. And the first time he caught a wave, he came right back and was immediately like looking for his next wave. And I was like, oh, buddy, like you just caught one. Like you just went, like you didn't stop and like we didn't talk about it. You seem pretty like urgent. It seems urgent to you to get to the next thing. Like how does that show up in your day? Like where else does that happen? And that was helpful to him to realize he wasn't taking a break, at work or from home to work. So yeah, there's so many. I'm such a like metaphor nerd too. So many things will show up that one of my favorite ones was I have a client that's been working with me for a long time, and at the point that this happened, we had actually never had when you paddle out for surfing, there's the waves are coming towards you and you're trying to get through them. But I plan the location and the timing so that it's like as easy as possible. And this client had never gotten into like a chaotic moment or a challenging paddle out. And we had this experience. We were sitting and we thought we were good. We were sitting on our boards, and all of a sudden we see these waves rolling in. I was like, oh, we need to be further out. And we like started to paddle and we didn't make it. And we both just got like rolled, and there was all these surprise waves coming in. I was like, we're going to catch a whitewater and ride it in and talk and like, slow down for a minute. We rode the wave in, and I was like, okay, that's what bad timing feels like. And I was just talking about the surf situation, but this client had already picked up on my constant metaphors, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah. That's what bad timing feels like. It's not my fault. Like, that's bad timing. And she like, had other areas of her life that applied to. It was pretty cool.
That's amazing. I am not a surfer. I'm probably the opposite from you, Jess and Lizzie. And I've shared it a lot. My brothers were both surfers. So I grew up on the beach watching everyone surf and terrified because my brothers tortured me in nature. They scared me about the ocean. The sharks are going to get you. Don't wear jewelry. The barracudas are going to bite your fingers off. I mean, like all that stuff. I only felt safe along the shore. Okay. But I appreciate it. And I, in many ways, even watching people surf can be very soothing and exciting and wonderful. But I did get in the water eventually and attempt it with Lizzie in Costa Rica at a ripe old age of like 50. It didn't go so great, okay? But it's okay. I wasn't afraid. So I think that even considering the people who just, the beginners of just getting in the water, right? And building, like I think about as a psychologist, building trust, how important that is with clients, building this connection, this sense of safety and trust in you, and how important that is, in the relationship in general, okay? And then how I wonder, even, it makes me wonder, is it almost built faster in some ways because you're in that experience together, right? As opposed to being sitting on the couch, that you're literally experiencing them facing a difficult, challenging, or even just scary, and you're there with them moving through it. And I wonder if there's any sense of, from your perspective, of trust building even faster. because of that.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's a different relationship. It has more layers to it than the in the office. I collected some like informal research for a presentation I was doing on this, and an interesting thing that I wasn't looking for it, but I noticed when everyone who answered the question, or almost everyone who answered the question, kept calling me a guide. I had never, I didn't say guide anywhere in there, and that's how they kept referring to me as their guide. And I really loved that and felt like honored that, and it's to me it speaks to that trust relationship that we're going through this challenging, somewhat dangerous, but I'm assuring you of the safety situation. And yeah, there's so many, like right from the beginning, you're changing into a wetsuit together. Just putting a wetsuit on is uncomfortable. You're doing that together, and then you have the question of or the conversation of physical proximity. I'm gonna be close to you in the beginning. Your feet might be touching me, or if especially I don't specialize in working with people with physical disabilities, but I've worked with organizations that where I've gotten some experience with that, and that's very hands on. So there's definitely a lot more layers, and yeah, there's this certain. Like I call it mama bear, like this certain voice and like cadence when things get a little bit hectic that I have to turn on, because it's like, they hear this constant safe, assuring person with them, and that lets them, that reminds them that they have that within themselves and that they're safe. So yeah, that's something I like to reflect on even more now that you bring it up in that way. I think I may take that for granted a little bit. There's definitely, there's something cool about that dynamic of you're getting to do something fun together too. Like it's like, oh, we just had a good time.
Scary, remember, fun and scary for newbies anyway, right?
Yeah,
Different.
definitely.
Yeah. And I think it's so neat to hear that so many of them used the same word, that they called you a guide. And I think that even reflects the level of them allowing you. So I feel when a client is with you and they're allowing you to guide them, there's trust. I think that's really neat. I am, Lizzie knows this about me, that I'm a DBT therapist, and I do a lot of like really non-traditional kinds of things. And I will definitely, in my early career, I helped co-create an addiction program. It was outpatient, and we did adventure. We had our adventure club. Okay. And we would do all kinds of things, paddle boarding and, all kinds of like outdoors and adventures and, some indoor things, but, really having fun. The whole purpose was to have fun, to learn how to have fun together without substances. And so that was a really important part of our program. And I still try to do things even with my clients today, when they're depressed and so forth. I'm like, meet me at the Green Market this weekend. Okay. I'm like, let's just experiment with what it's like to be, I'm there every Saturday. Meet me there. We'll have a cup of coffee. Right. And then I check in with them, and they always feel better. Okay. Always. And I'm like, I knew it. I have yet to have a client meet me at the Green Market and not feel better. Okay. So I think that's it's not typical for people to have experiences where they get out of the office unless you're like an OCD and they're going to go do exposure therapy. But I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that gets skipped. Just even checking on that whole area of life, whether you even like go out and do it with them, just a therapist asking like, "Oh, what's the recreation and leisure area of your life include?" And like, do you enjoy that? Is there anything that you always wanted to do and never tried? Do you have like social connections when you do that? Even if you don't go out and do it with them, at least remembering that that's actually like a really important section of someone's life where you can help improve their quality of life a lot.
Absolutely. And I think with clients with, really complex issues and especially depression is that, you can talk for a year about doing something and they never do it. Okay. Because it's really, really hard for them. And as they build trust, and they're more likely to show up if there's a support person there. So I think, being able to offer, whether it's in a structured kind of like therapeutic approach, or it's literally, I'll even go to AA meetings with people, particularly when they're picking up their first chip and things like that. I feel like really being able to see your clients in the real world too, like even as you were describing like how they do things or how they're handling things, it really gives you such a greater multi-dimensional kind of experience and knowledge and understanding of them. And I can only imagine that being on the surf just like takes that up a super notch. I'll stick to the green market, okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But maybe Lizzie will be in one of your trainings.
Yes, I would love to. And curious because, you are outside of the office, how you kind of, what ethical things come up, or how do clients respond to that different type of relationship that you are building? And yeah, I guess the benefits, we're kind of starting to describe some of them. As a clinician, you get to see different ways that they're approaching life and things. And then maybe for the client themselves, they get to build that trust potentially quicker or in a different way. But yeah, curious what ethical things kind of arise as being out in the open, and even some of the pros and cons of this modality.
Yeah, that's an it's an important thing to acknowledge. That is part of why I do the training, is because there are a lot of unexpected challenges that can come up. The obvious one is the confidentiality is different. Your paperwork needs to be different for that. You need to have a conversation with the client about how you're going to address that. How I usually attempt to maintain their confidentiality is if anyone approaches us or asks, even if they ask me after, I say, well, that's a friend of mine that I was giving a surf lesson, and I let them know that beforehand. A lot of people, that's another benefit to surf versus office. There is less stigma around doing a surf therapy session. So a lot of people are really excited will tell people like, no, this is or I'll have a former client that's like on the beach and sees me and is like, oh, my surf therapist. So it's not a big deal for most people. They're excited about it. But I'll let them know, like, I'm not going to ask certain extremely vulnerable topics, or I'll follow your lead on certain things. Usually we're actually not within earshot of people with the waves crashing and the fact that it's not during the summer the beaches are crowded, but it's not so crowded that someone's right next to you. So there usually is, as far as the actual content of what we're talking about, there's a decent amount of confidentiality, but just, it being seen that we're in a session or on the sand, sometimes people will cry, and that's, I'm again, mama bear, I'm watching, because see, we get approached sometimes, especially unfortunately if it's me and another female, there is I don't know what to call it, like a certain macho, somewhat like misogynistic vibe within some of surf culture that, I've definitely had plenty of usually older dudes come up and give us unwanted conversation, unwanted advice, guidance, all the way to the lecturing. So that's something you have to be prepared for, how you're going to handle that, how you're going to debrief with the client afterwards. And then, the changing in and out of wetsuits brings an unexpected element for a lot of, or that just people that haven't experienced a body, like being self-conscious about your body, it doesn't even dawn on them. But squeezing into something that is designed to be too tight, and even potentially like the first time we try it on, I don't know for sure what your size is, and you're like, maybe you have a bathing suit on under, but you're like nearly nude for a moment. Like there are so many moments where there's, unexpected situations to address. The fear factor that you mentioned, like just anxiety and PTSD, or if they have a water trauma, there's opportunity for panic attacks to happen. You have to be prepared on how you're going to respond to that. I'm sure there's more. Those are the ones that are coming to mind first, of like the ethical, like you need to be prepared for this potential thing that, if things don't go according to plan, you should have a backup plan.
Yeah. Have you learned through doing this any populations that it's really not indicated for, or that you?
I would say that the provider, it depends on who the provider is. And I think a lot of people offering surf therapy or, ocean healing would accept anyone that came to them. So it's important to, ask and let them know what you're looking for. So I would say surf therapy is wonderful for people recovering from addiction. But if you are in active addiction, or if you're in the, pre-contemplation, contemplation stages of change, I won't be able to get in the water with you if you come under the influence of any substances. I might be able, that's an ethical dilemma for any therapist, what you're going to do with a client in that situation. I might be able to do something on the sand with them. Also, eating disorders. If your blood sugar is low or you're not eating, I can't ethically take you out into the surf. Just my own. I need to know my scope of competence, what I'm capable of treating, and if I have somebody that really wants surf therapy, that has something like, say they have some psychosis sometimes, or even eating disorder. I don't specialize in eating disorders. I would ask them to have a primary provider that helps them with that, and then the surf therapy is a supplemental thing that they can get cool stuff to bring back to their regular therapist.
Yeah, that's great. Can you share with Lizzie and I and our listeners really what your population, like, do you specialize in any particular area, or what is your kind of scope?
Yeah, I'm trauma focused, PTSD, addiction recovery, anxiety, depression are I'd say my am most skilled in. In surf therapy, I've found that especially clients that are on the autism spectrum or that have bipolar disorder and enjoy some intensity in their life, some action, are drawn to it. And obviously surfers or athletes, people that were raised doing any kind of sport. And then in those situations, I really enjoy getting to do a corrective experience because it seems a lot of parents and coaches have a very terrible approach to teaching their children a sport. And then they come and they have me teaching them a sport. And I'm like, well, let's do this and let's do that. And like, why would you, like, did you hear what you just said to yourself after that wave? Wow, you were so hard on yourself. I thought I loved watching you wipe out on that wave. You laughed afterwards. It looked fun. And then we can go back to like, oh yeah, like I sounded just like my dad when I was, when I missed the third strike in baseball. So yeah, those are a few of the, either like my specialties or, people that seem to come to, or if they've had a water or surf trauma. A decent amount of women have really bad experiences with surfing, or a partner teaches them how to surf and then things don't work out with that partner and they want their own experience with surfing. So yeah, those are some of the like recurring themes.
Really cool. Yeah,
Lizzie, you might need to sign up for a session.
I know. I really would love that. So next time I'm in California, I definitely will reach out.
Yeah, you should. It's shocking. I actually get people come from out of state for surf
Wow.
therapy sessions. Either like single ones or they'll come for like 3 days and get like 3 intense sessions.
I'm imagining, Lizzie, our Costa Rica retreat, our mindfulness retreat with Jess doing surf therapy.
Amazing.
I'm on it. Costa
Let's do
Rica,
it.
I'm all about it.
Okay.
I actually did research doing my own retreat in Costa Rica once, and the logistics were got to a point that it was too much. So if y'all figure that
Well,
out,
we're doing it. We just got
you.
back from Costa Rica, and that's going to be on the list. So I think that would be spectacular.
Yeah,
would
there's
love that.
extra healing magic there for sure.
Yeah, we love retreats. And speaking of that, like I want to bring the conversation back to kind of connecting with nature itself, and this being such a modality that gives that opportunity to rekindle that relationship with nature. Because like you said, as you grew up, like we kind of lose touch, or as a kid, we might play outside. But really how this season of our podcast is offering different perspectives and ways that people can connect with nature as part of their personal growth, but then also when we care for the earth, we care for ourselves better, and it's kind of this two-way street of awakening to both better supporting ourselves and our own well-being, and then wanting to also support the earth's well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. It varies. Like, some people are super open to it and they're like already in it. And I'm like, oh yes, like we can feel these different textures and the sun, like the energy of the sun, and we can like just like soak in the sensory elements. And that's such a connection. Other people, I've got to kind of find opportunities where it doesn't sound too corny. That's the word I was looking for, like corny, where I'm like, isn't this wonderful? We're one with nature.
Yeah.
But yeah, moments in the sand, connecting. If I can get them that's willing to try a guided meditation, I can guide them into that. I can say that the ocean is sending waves of something to you, whether it's love or if they connect to a higher power or something, the ocean is sending that to you. And then out in the water, if they're able to paddle out past the waves, there can be floating, and that's the more quiet part of the ocean is out further. But it reminds me of someone was doing a research paper and asked me some questions, and then they had this one question they asked about awe. How do moments of awe come into play? And I hadn't even realized that, like, I could have such a long list of the ways that surf therapy can help people, and I hadn't even realized that one. I was like, oh yeah, like those are fantastic. They don't happen every time, but it's when like the dolphins come within like 10, 12 feet of us and we hear their breath, like we can like hear the spray out of their blowhole, or when the waves are crashing and there's a wind at the same time and the sun is behind them, it creates a rainbow over the wave. Or if you're there at sunset and then you see the moon is also in the sky, it's these moments of like, holy crap, like we're in an amazing place. And then that like just sort of underneath it, there is it somehow like almost makes you love yourself a little more because you're part of nature. So this thing that is so amazing and beautiful and wonderful, that's you, like you're part of it. Yeah, that it varies by the person how intentional and like obvious I can be with it. Sometimes it's just in the back of my head that like the ocean is my co-facilitator. If I don't know what to say, I don't say anything because something's happening anyways.
That's powerful. I always say that, and like that's what I want my career to be, is nature as my co-facilitator. So fun that you just shared that. But yeah, those moments of awe, we actually read the book that is all about awe. That's, I feel like, nature's approach is, it's not verbal. There's just these experiences that can open us up to shifting our perspective or giving us an opportunity to overcome something or face a fear or just recognizing beauty. And so, yeah, those moments of awe, just like you don't even have to say any words, but something is shifting and felt.
That reminds me of a good one for like accessing nature's power within therapy. I think I use it more often if I'm doing walk and talk with people, but I'll ask, what's something you can see that reminds you of something you like about yourself and something that you don't like about yourself? Or if I have a group, I used to do some groups with a partial hospitalization program, and I'd send them out to go like bring me back something, and then we'd all share in the circle. It gives them opportunity to realize something, because it's easier to compliment nature than yourself. And then almost always the thing they found that was something that they didn't like about themselves, I could tell them the utility of why that is what it is. I'd be like, oh yeah, like that's a seed pod, like it's protecting that seed, or like that helps that seed like fly and move around so that plant can like plant more, grow. So that is one of my favorite go-to questions for anything outdoors, of something reminds you of something you like about yourself and something you don't like about yourself.
The ocean's been coming up a lot in a lot of my sessions and in some groups that I lead. We often will ask them, imagine something in nature that is soothing to you or supportive. And so the ocean is huge, even though I'm afraid. I grew up having some fear around it. I grew up near the ocean and was literally by the ocean all the time. So it is also very soothing to me. And I think water in general, if you don't have fear of water, can be so supportive, that like you were saying, even the buoyancy and the sense of like soothing nature of that. I constantly encourage my clients to be either getting in the water. I mean, we live by the ocean here, or in a pool or some body of water, and even a bath, okay, because it is unbelievably soothing and supportive. But you get to actually be with them in it. And I do think mindfulness of, and I teach a lot of mindfulness. So in those moments of really being able to direct their attention to how the water actually feels. Even if you're afraid, like I think about how that can be helpful to titrate, that I might have this fear of, sharks or something like that. And how does my body actually feel? Can I feel the water? on my body and holding me up, and how that ability to use mindfulness really supports people in having both new experiences or increasing their experience of something pleasant, because trauma healing can be unpleasant. So being able to be in nature or having those experiences, I think, is amazing and supportive of people.
Yeah, I agree. I think of like the ideal, or in my opinion, like the ideal like healing journey would have like the yin and the yang of like we go into the darkness of like the pain that's there, and that's more usually the office setting, and processing that. And that that's what therapy, a lot of psychotherapy is already good at. And then this surf therapy, these type of things, or a lot of times the clients that's their task outside of therapy, but that's the light end of it, of not just like what went wrong, but what didn't go right, what were you supposed to have experienced, what qualities of yours didn't get to like blossom, and that's one of the gifts of surf therapies. We get to do more of the like what you should have gotten, and you didn't, and now you get to have it.
Yeah, those corrective experiences, or just like being able to be seen, and even like that reparenting, like I'm thinking of. Yeah, very cool. Well, I want to offer the space if there's anything else that you really feel like listeners would be interested to hear about surf therapy, or how they want to connect with you, um, or best ways to find someone nearby that they could trust, or how they should even go about that.
Yeah, absolutely. There, most of the surf therapy currently offered is through organizations, nonprofit organizations, often just because the logistics are so much that it's harder for individuals or people without the outside, like basically like donations to fund it. So if you are part of a group that there is an organization for offering surf therapy, then that's obviously a great place to start with it. If you're looking for something more specialized or individual, it really depends on where you're at. I'm in Southern California. I do sessions between Orange County and San Diego County. But if you're looking for a provider and you don't live near me, then, like I said, ask what their qualifications are. If you have certain special needs, make sure that they're going to be okay and prepared to handle those. And then trust your instincts, as far as just like the feeling you get with them. The rapport is always the most important part of therapy. So if you don't feel safe, or they don't feel reliable, if they're not consistent, then trust those instincts. And yeah, as far as me, I specialize in trauma processing in the office, and surf therapy and walk and talk outside of the office. I have a surf therapy training, sealovehealing.com. You can see all of my stuff that I do. C is spelled SEA, of course. I have a practice here in Carlsbad, California, and I also supervise an associate who offers some sliding scale sessions. So that's all my areas of attempting to help and heal right now.
Yeah, that's great. And great to know that even to have the connection where people can come out and work with you individually. Will you do ever like a series or something? Like if someone flew out there, could you do like, 2 or 3 sessions in a week?
Yeah, that's what I've had some clients do. That the clients that do fly out, yeah, we'll see if we can do a few days in a row. ideally, or if they have the resources to come like once a month. I've had some people from, just like up in Washington that can come down once a month for a couple months. I don't put limits on like, you need to see me at this frequency or this number of times. I'll explain like, there are some benefits that can come of that. And there are some things that, if I haven't seen you in 5 months, I'm going to have to catch up with some things. We're going to use some of that time. But I'm always open to, even I've had actually a lot of people do just one session. Those actually do usually seem to be very meaningful, I think, because of all the intention that has been put into it and the preparation and how special it is. I'm very flexible with that.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. Such a joy to an inspiration to connect with you and hear how, the therapeutic field can expand beyond the office and making the ocean, allowing nature to be a co-facilitator is my wish and so beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing, and we'll put your info in the show notes.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you for bringing light and joy and enjoyment and fun into therapy.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed having the opportunity to be the talker in a session here. So thank you.
Yes, you get to share your story.
Yeah, it's fun.
Hope to keep in touch and build our retreat.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Tell me
everyone stay tuned. Costa Rica. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. If it spoke to you, it'll probably speak to someone you love too. Share it with a friend and leave us a 5-star review to help spread the message it's never too late to heal.